raised voices, tempers flare, a near mishap, all at our favorite place on the planet, Newark International Airport. This one really gets interesting. Let's watch. Okay, the first player here is Dominican Wings, or Dominican Air, sometimes they're called, 2311. Now, these guys are coming out of Newark. They're climbing out, and they're checking in with departure. So they've been handed off from tower to departure frequency. They've dialed that in. They're checking in with departure. And the first call when you check in with departure is, it's us, we're here, and we're passing this altitude. All right, and then they're going to give you further instructions. It's exceedingly busy today at Newark. I'm used to this sort of pace in air traffic control. It's probably too busy, but there's not much you can do about it. The air traffic controller is doing a great job keeping up. Everybody's listening up on the radios, but this thing goes sideways pretty quickly. Let's watch.
2311, near departure contact. Climb maintain 6,000, turn left heading 200. Maintain 6,000 and left heading 200, Dominican 2311.
Okay, pretty standard so far. 6,000, left 200. He says his call sign at the end. Everything's great. In the cockpit, they're dialing in 6,000. He's turning the heading to 200. They're starting the airplane over there. Everything's good. You're going to hear here in a second how busy this guy is, this air traffic controller is, with all of the traffic he's got at Newark today. Let's listen to how fast he's got to talk.
40, November Sierra, direct breezy, contact Newark departure 120.8. 120.8.
Okay, so far so good.
123, turn left heading 100, set maintain 2,000.
Okay.
Left turn 100, down 2,000, drive 723. Mobile 186 Golf, turn right 050, go to breezy when able. 050, breezy when able for 86 Golf. Mobile 186 Golf, go direct breezy, contact near departure 120.
It's the fifth airplane he's working.
Direct breezy for 86 Golf.
Okay. He's working 5 airplanes all at the same time. And he's got many more coming behind this. So he's got to keep, everybody's got to get it right the first time. So far, we'll come back to Dominican here. So far, Dominican is turned to 200. They're climbing to 6,000 feet, but they're not climbing fast enough. So he's going to call them back and he's going to tell them to increase their rate of climb. Why? Because he's got somebody else that they're going to be a conflict with. So typically speaking, when the airplanes are more spaced out, how fast you climb or descend is not all that critically important. They'll let you know if they want you to increase your rate of descent or increase your rate of climb. This is a typical call. I've gotten this 1,000 times. Dominican 2311.
311, you got to increase rate of climb.
Okay.
Dominican 2311.
Okay, so he doesn't say increase rate of climb. He just gives us call sign. This guy knows how busy it is here, so he's just going to give the bare minimum. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as long as he complies with that. So he's going to now probably dial back his speed a little bit to get the nose of the airplane to come up. That's what the pilots typically do to increase their rate of climb, or ask for a higher power setting out of the engines. You can do both of those things at the same time as well.
723, you got a descent. Go to 2 right now.
Aircraft number 6 he's working. 7.
Departure, Limburg 4494.
8.
1600, on 3000. Number 4494, near departure contact. On the left heading of 270, 270 heading climb, maintain 8,000.
Can you hear how kind of stretched this guy is? He's right on the verge of kind of being angry. He's being real aggressive. That's fine, but he's got to keep up with, he's now, what I count, 8 aircraft. He's working all at the same time, coming in and out of Newark. Let's keep going.
Left heading 270, climb, maintain 8,000, Limburg 4494. Iconic 312, set to maintain 2,000. 2,000, iconic 312.
All right, airplane's climbing, descending. All right, he's going to turn his attention back to Dominican 2311. Remember, he gave him 6,000 feet, and that turned to 200, and he's asked him to increase his rate of climb. Right now, Dominican is complying with all of that. There's no problems here whatsoever, but he's going to give them another instruction. But listen, there's so much going on the radios, and I'm going to talk about the radios here in just a minute and why I think we need to get rid of them and come up with a better system. But there's going to be a confusion here, and it's really easy to miss. So let's listen through the first time, and then I'll rewind it for you. Here it comes.
Dominican 2312, flighting 230, go direct elevate.
Okay. First of all, he calls the call signs wrong. Dominican 2312. That's That's not a big deal. That happens all the time, right? You know who he's talking to. So Dominican 2311 understands it's for them. They're going to read back this clearance here in a second, but they're going to get it wrong. So look at this. He says fly heading 230 and go to direct to Elvay. What do they read back? Climb flight level 230, direct Elvay, Dominican 2311. Now, what went wrong here? Did they just not hear it right? Well, number one, it's a second language for these guys. They have to be English proficient, all right? So my hat's off to them doing this in a second language. But the bigger deal is anticipation bias. What is anticipation bias? They're anticipating a climb. They've been put at 6,000 for a little while. They're expecting the next call to be climb to flight level 230. That's a typical call. I've had that thousands and thousands of times, departing all over the world. Why? Because they take you up to 230. That's the top of his airspace. After 230, he's going to hand you off to center controller, and they're 24,000 and above. So you're expecting this. He gets a turn to 230. He's anticipating climb. He reads back climb, and the controller, who's so busy, doesn't catch it. Many times I've read back something wrong and the controller will catch it. And he'll go, nope, nope, nope. I told you to turn, not to climb. Oh, hey, thanks for the clarification. He doesn't catch it because he's overworked. All right, he's overworked. There's a solution to this. So let me keep going.
Number 4494, climb to 10,000. 10,000, number 4494.
All right, he's off in his mind to the next person. Listen to how busy this guy is. He's going to rattle off a bunch of instructions.
312 cross height, call things at 2, Danny 15, you cut Alice, Zulu runway 6 approach. 2, Danny 15, cleared on Zulu runway 6 approach for country 12.
This guy is working departures out of Newark. He's working arrivals into Newark. He's got at least 8 or 9 airplanes currently that he's working. And that's not just one instruction to each. It's multiple instructions to each. He gave a right turn to 230 to Dominican. They read back climb. They've dialed in 230 now, and they're starting to climb. This is going to really mess up the works here because it's going to take him a while to realize that these guys are climbing into other traffic, and that could be a disaster. Then everything comes to a screeching halt with, wait, hold on, what are you guys doing? There's that second or two he's got to fix this. Now, I'm going to give you a fix for this, but let's watch this calamity unwrap in front of us. We'll be right back, but first, a word from our sponsor. Last week, thousands of flights were delayed across the country, and not because of weather. Air traffic controllers missed their first full paycheck during the government shutdown, and the effects are spreading fast. More delays are being reported nationwide, and at over 10 major airports, including Dallas, Los Angeles, and Newark, departures and even arrivals have been temporarily halted because of staffing shortages. And depending on where you get your news, you might not have even heard about it. That's exactly why I use Ground News. It's a news comparison platform that gathers and compares reporting from over 50,000 sources worldwide, so you can see how each side covers the same event and stay fully informed. Since the shutdown story broke, Ground News has tracked coverage from over 180 outlets, with 70% coming from politically centered sources and 97% rated as highly factual. But here's what's interesting. The divide in coverage wasn't about the delays or safety concerns. It was about who's to blame for the shutdown, and that matters because bias often hides in what's left out, not just what's said. With Ground News, you get situational awareness for the news, just like pilots need situational awareness in the cockpit. My favorite feature is the blind spot feed. It highlights stories that only one side of the political spectrum is talking about. That's how you spot what you're not seeing, so you don't get caught flying blind. Right now, Ground News is offering my viewers 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan, the same plan I use. Click the link in the description, go to ground.news/Captain Steeve, or scan the QR code to subscribe today and discover your co-pilot for clearer news. Special thanks to Ground News for being such an incredible sponsor and partner of this channel and the reporting we do. I really mean it when I say that they have helped us to bring more content to you.
Dominican 2311, I gave you 6,000. What are you climbing to? Sorry, we're at flight number 230, Dominican 2311. Dominican 2311, turn right of 300, stop your climb. Stop your climb.
Okay, so the first thing he does is, okay, we got to make sure he doesn't hit anybody. And I don't blame Dominican for this at all. Dominican was expecting to hear a climb to 230. They read back a climb to 230. The air traffic controller didn't catch it. Is there somebody to blame here? If there's anybody to blame, it's the archaic system that we're still using after all these years. I blame this on the politicians and the decision makers that haven't updated our air traffic control system. We're still talking on radios from like the 1920s and 30s, where we're broadcasting over each other. And the only way for this guy to communicate to these aircraft is back and forth on the radio. You can step on somebody else. 2 airplanes can key the mic at the same time. Air traffic control can key the mic while an airplane keys the mic. Nobody hears it. Then they got to repeat it again. It's a mess. And you can see how busy this guy is, and and everybody's trying to listen in for them. And again, he got the call sign wrong, but then he gave them the turn and they read back a climb. He's off in his mind to the next airplane he's got to give instructions to. He didn't catch that little thing. It shouldn't have to come down to that. This should be, there's a thing called CPDLC. You've heard me talk about that a bunch, right? Controller Pilot Data Link Communications. It's texting for airplanes. So he can send every instruction he's giving them via a text. It's much quicker and it's much clearer. It's unambiguous. You get a little thing, you get a ding, you hear a ding, an audible ding, and you see it on your scope, and it says exactly what he wants you to do. And it's going to say, in this case, it's going to say turn to heading 230. You hit the accept button, right? I've got an accept button in my airplane. You hit accept, and then you do it. You comply with it, and that acknowledges that you've got it. No talking whatsoever. So it's completely silent, but also it's right there in print in front of you, and it's very difficult to get that wrong. It is easy to get it wrong when you're listening and somebody steps on you, or as you know how grainy these communications are, sometimes it's hard to hear, or you're anticipating something else. All 3 of those things were factors here in Dominican 2311 starting their climb. So he says, stop your climb, right? Stop right now. Turn to this heading. He's getting him out of harm's way. He's getting him away from other aircraft. There's more to come.
Right, please, you're up at flight level, 2311. Approaching 913 Tokyo 2000, 204.
All the other aircraft are still talking, right?
Turn 300, climb it, and then send back down to 6,000.
Okay, so he's giving a right turn to 300. For some reason, he calls him .com. And I'm not sure why. It might be an abbreviation for Dominican. But at any rate, maybe that's what he sees on his screen. That's his abbreviation for Dominican. But he's now in such a panic, this air traffic controller, that he's just blurting out literally, what he sees on his screen. So to their credit, they got it. They heard him and they comply.
916 Delta Kilo, flighting is 280, climb maintain 8,000. 8,000, pick up kill. Citation 320 Thai Bravo, climb maintain 10,000, turn right against 280.
Okay, so we've got a little issue that's about to develop here. And what is that, do you think? The issue that's about to develop is they still think he told them to climb to flight level 230. Neither one of them, the pilots or the controller, got back to what the source of the problem was. They're still under the understanding that they're to climb to flight level 230. But he called them up and said, level off, just stop your climb. So they do. They comply. There's a button in my cockpit called altitude hold. And if I hit that button, the airplane gently just levels off where I am and holds whatever altitude I'm at the moment. So these guys most likely have hit altitude hold, and they're waiting for further instructions. They're expecting a climb to flight level 230. Now they're at this awkward altitude. They're at 7,700 feet. That's no man's land, right? They're not at a hard altitude, 7 or 8 or 9. They're at 7,700 feet, clobbering the whole system as they're plowing through. And this controller still got to deal with everybody else. And he's like, what are you guys doing? I told you 6,000. Well, no, that was a long time ago. They think still you want us to climb to 230. So come on, let's clarify this. So again, this is a problem with the system of talking on the radios. Let's see how this keeps going.
Right heading 210 and 1 here, Charlie Bravo. Guys, you all got to pay attention here, please. Everyone pay attention. Right turn heading of 280. Heading 280-320 Charlie Bravo.
Okay, I've heard the guys call a couple times. Everybody on this frequency, heads up. Things are really busy, and most everybody gets it. When you get into Newark, you get into JFK, you get into LaGuardia, Philadelphia, all those kind of places, and the guys talking a mile a minute. You're on your A game today. You got to be on your A game, and if you're not on your A game, man, you're going to get bounced out of there pretty fast, and you got to help this guy out. So he does the guys, everybody listen up, just to kind of, smack across the face, right?
329 Golf Sierra, climb to 10,000. 3,000 Golf Sierra. Tom, 2311, if you want to live, go to 6,000 feet now.
Okay, if you want to live, is that what he said? If you want to live, go to 6,000 feet now. Now, he's exasperated with Dominican. He thinks Dominican just started climbing for no particular reason. They didn't. They misheard what he said. Anticipation bias was behind it. They got it wrong, but he also didn't catch it. He didn't trap that threat either. And he doesn't ever go back and close it up for him. They think they're waiting for him to take them back up to 230. They're just leveled off. They're complying. Now he's clarified. I want you to go back down to 6. He says it in a kind of a colorful way, but they start their descent back down to 6,000 feet. So everything that this guy's asked them to do, they comply with, except for the one thing that they misheard and he didn't correct.
Citation 6 Delta Kilo, sliding 300, climb to 10,000. 300, 10,000, 6 Delta Kilo. Dominican winds 2311. How do you hear? Dominican 2311. Take your airplane and go to an altitude of 6,000 feet now. That's 6,000 feet, Dominican 2311.
Okay, let me share with you a little parenting tip. You going, wow, parenting tip in an aviation video? Yes. My wife, the fair and lovely Mrs. Captain Steeeve, and I have been traveling around the country for 30 plus years. We've written books on parenting and marriage and so forth. We always tell audiences the two most important words in parenting are the words must and now. And so when you say to your child, you must go up and brush your teeth and put on your pajamas and get into bed now, their compliance rate just soars. They're gonna get that because you use the words must and now. This air traffic controller might have gone through one of my parenting courses because he's using the words must and now, and basically says if you want to live, you need to go to 6,000 feet now. That's a time frame that any person, no matter what language you speak, can understand, and it's an imperative that everybody is going to comply with. So for the first time, he's got them to acknowledge, yep, we got to get back down to 6,000 feet and in a hurry. So here they go.
Maintain 6,000 feet. Thank you.
A little sarcasm there.
6,000, Dominican 2311. Dominican 2311, turn right turn, heading of 070. Yeah, right turn heading 070, Dominican 2311.
All right, these guys are now coming back to 6,000.
Continue right turning of 140. Right turn 140, Dominican 2311.
Okay, and the rest of it continues on. He gets them out of their airspace. They eventually get a climb back and they get on their way. And this turns into, it in the long run, a nothing burger. But as you saw it unwrap in front of you, you could see that there was some anticipation bias. They were expecting to climb to flight level 230. Nothing wrong with that. The heading he gave them just happened to coincide with the altitude that they were expecting to hear of 230. Is there a little language barrier there? Yep. But you know what? I've made this mistake before myself. So it's easy for English speakers to get that wrong. Then there was no circle back to clarify it. Remember, because this guy is super busy. He still thinks that he gave him a heading. They're thinking they're expecting to climb. They level off. They do. They're complying. He calls them, says, get back down to 6,000 feet. That transmission might have been stepped on and they never heard it. They might have been busy with something else and didn't hear it. They didn't acknowledge. Then he comes back and says, how do you hear? And they're like, we hear you loud and clear. Okay, get down to 6,000 feet right now if you want to live. And he uses must and now with them to get them to comply, which I think is appropriate at that point. He gets a little sarcastic and a little short-tempered with them. He stays professional the whole time. But this was a comedy of miscommunication that went on. I think the fix for this in the long run is to get the money behind and get the infrastructure in to get the aviation business, especially air traffic control communications with airplanes, into the 21st and ready for the 22nd century. And that means basically data link communications, texting with airplanes so that they can read it, hit an accept button, and the computer's already programmed to comply. Easy peasy, right? Less talking on the radio, more stuff done in 21st century technology. Well, I thought you'd want to look at this one because it was interesting. It was a near miss in Newark, all the excitement of Newark, and some miscommunication along the way. Well, now you know. I'm Captain Steve. Fly safe.